South Korea, one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world next to Japan and kind of the United States, made a horrible mistake by adopting AI in classrooms, and now publishers are suing them to bring AI back despite the problems it created, which is a mess. Unfortunately, the US is following suit. South Korea ran a very expensive experiment in which they created AI textbooks. This was meant to get them closer to students who are already using AI to answer questions in their courses, and it had terrible results. It was full of things that were just flat out false, and every classroom that used them had delays to try to correct some really egregious errors. Now, the government did put a little over $500 million into this project, and it had a significant effect on the publishers, which spent their own money to follow the program. When the government decided that these textbooks would be supplemental and not required because schools in South Korea have to follow the government's recommendations, that's when the publishers themselves are now suing the government to make them required again. That kind of sounds like the kind of dog and pony show we'd have here. Now, tens of thousands of students in the US currently have AI incorporated into their programs. This is an idea that helps students get closer to what they're already going to use. Yes, you can use ChatGPT to answer your homework questions, or you can use an AI that's been trained specifically on the material. Now, I am a college instructor. I started teaching my own courses around 2022, and this last spring I taught a class for the first time that had AI incorporated into the textbook. This was not my choice. I prefer to have any copy of the textbook, but sometimes we are required to allow the most recent copy, which comes with an AI assistant. My experience was about the same as everyone else's experience with students using AI. Yes, they're just going to use ChatGPT to do their homework for them, often including the watermarks from the AI. Now, let me remind you that if I see something that is so egregious that I have to take up a plagiarism case, it's exhausting for everyone involved, including myself. Which is why I warned my students clearly and unambiguously early in the class, I do not want to have to take up plagiarism cases, period. So please, if you're going to use AI, do it in a way that is halfway intelligent. Do not insult my intelligence and consequently yours, because when I see that you included a watermark for the AI that you used, I'm going to assume that you just don't care. And the academic system is broken, and AI has broken it. This forces teachers to need to adjust. Yeah, homework is now kind of obsolete. You have to find other ways to force students to learn things. Now, I hate to say it because this was always exhausting as a student. What we're forced to do is have classes that have like 3 or 4 exams, and that's your entire grade. No homework because it is pointless. I don't have to tell you that that is not how the majority of people learn effectively. That means we are in a situation where the older forms of education, the ones that had higher stakes for exams, are the only ones that work. And that class that I was forced to use AI in was one that had a standardized curriculum, so I was not able to adjust for what students need, and the flaws in it just couldn't be fixed by me. Unfortunately, that is what we are looking at for a lot of classroom stuff, especially for elementary school and high school, teachers who have no control and no ability to fix the problems that we have. Now, the much worst part of all of that is that using AI degrades your abilities. We learn by taking up a task, struggling to do it, and then learning from our mistakes. Unfortunately, AI can write better essays than 90% of college students. And a lot of places grade on a curve. So if students don't use AI, they are now missing out, and that is a huge problem. By far the worst part about this is that I have always loved teaching. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed coming up with creative ways to get people interested in science. That's kind of why I do what I do here. I understand that people are just burnt out, both children and adults. We have undone decades of progress with understanding that not everybody learns the exact same way, and trying to make classrooms more inclusive. We've created a situation that ensures only the traditional ways of doing these things are the ones that are going to work. Meaning everything is done in the classroom, exams make up most of your grade, and it's just assumed that if you do homework, you're going to cheat. I don't have a good solution for it. I can lament it. The US really needs to not have AI in classrooms. It didn't work for South Korea. We can at least look at somebody who tried to do it and failed and maybe not repeat the same mistakes. If the robots ever rebel, I'm definitely going to be the one that tells you about it. Follow for more.